This is so surreal. I can't believe I'm here today. I'm supposed to go before my daughter. Carrie was a very unusual woman. She was persistent, and she had tenacity like you've never seen before. If she wanted something, she went for it. And that's why she was her whole life. She learned it as she was growing up. I just have a story to tell you. When she was in college, she went to Boulder, Colorado, and they had a trip there. She was like 21 years old, and she came to her father and she says, "They have a semester at sea, Dad, and I'd love to go on it." And he says, "Well, what does it cost?" And she said, $9,000. And he said, $9,000? What do you think, money grows on trees? And she said, "No, Dad, but I'm asking you, I think it's going to be a wonderful experience for me. Won't you let me go?" And he said, "Carrie, if you think it's so easy, you go out and see if you can earn it yourself." And I looked at him and I said, "What are you, crazy? How is she going to earn it herself?" I said, "She should be able to go." He says, "No, she's going to have to learn how if she wants something bad enough, she's got to go for it." And guess what she did? She went on Hollywood Squares. Now, is that smart? You better believe it. And guess what she won? $15,000. Wait, a car, a trailer, and she put it all in our garage. The car, the trailer, we had to sell it. We were living on Quisson Place, and of course she got the money for it. So she really did very well. Okay. She came to her father. She says, "Well, Dad, you told me I have to earn it, and I did." And he says, "You know what? You're right, Carrie." She says, "So now I have to ask you, Dad, I'm going to have a few side trips, and that's going to cost me money." And she says, "Don't you think that you would be paying tuition like a couple of $1,000s every year for me to go to school and board in a sorority house and everything?" He said, "Yes." She says, "So I think you owe me a couple of $1,000s." And he says, "You know what, Carrie? You are right. You do deserve the $2,000 or whatever it costs for the trips." And when she went on that semester at sea, and I don't know if anybody's here that was on it. Is there anybody that was on that ship with her? Yes, okay. Then they know. She was the Toastmaster. She was running the trips, going back and forth when they went to the Mediterranean to Greece, or if she was going to Egypt, she had a trip plan. And she had everybody join her, and she made all the plans. And so she was a doer. She was an absolute doer, whatever she did. But I think it all came from not only her DNA, who she is, but I think that when you give your kid an opportunity to make something on their own, even though she won it on Hollywood Squares, but she did do it, it gives them a confidence that they will carry on throughout their whole life. And that's what Carrie had. She had confidence. And then she ended up meeting Michael on a mission that we had in Washington, D.C., and that was called confidence. She got a hold of him on the bus, and she didn't know him from Adam, except he was this good-looking guy that came in on our mission from L.A., and she said, you like to ski, I like to play tennis, let's get together. And he says, "Well, I have a girlfriend." And she said, "I didn't ask you to marry me. I think that's wonderful. Would you just," she said, "I'm a very good tennis player. Would you just challenge me? I'll meet you down at the courts." And they lived down at the marina. And he said, "Okay." And he finally she talked him into it. And then he met her 3 or 4 times, and he never asked her out for even coffee. She called me up. She says, and she was working for the auto industry then. She was selling advertisement. And she says, "Mom, you know what? I'm tired of trying to get after this guy." She says, "I'm going to New York." And she says, "I'm going to forget it." She says, "What do I do with him? He just doesn't seem to get it." And I says, "You know what? You tell him that. Say, you know what? I'm going away. And so she did. She called him up and she says, I'm going to New York on a trip, and if you want to see me, I'll be back in 10 days. Just call me. So P.S., guess what happened? He called her up and he said, Evy, not Evy. Oh. Forget me. He said, Carrie, I broke up with my girlfriend and I would love to see you. And that was it. I mean, she had him hooked. And he is probably one of the most fabulous, fabulous son-in-laws a mother could ever have, him, more like a son. And he has been such a fabulous husband to my daughter. And I just am here today to say, oh, sweet dreams and be at peace, my darling Carrie. We love you, and you will always be in our hearts forever.